Well, as people are matriculating in, I'm going to take the opportunity to once again thank the panelists in advance for being here. The first session really ran over, which I think is a good thing because the dialogue was phenomenal and the connections that were being made already are fantastic. So we're moving on to our second part of the program, which is going to be training and hiring resources. And it's my great pleasure to introduce to you everybody Jen Schott, who's going to be our moderator. I think Jen there's probably, I don't know if she's cloned herself or not, but there's probably 3 of her out there at least, because I see her and she's, again, reelected and also to the school board. Now I think anybody who sits on school boards are saints, because that takes a special person. Besides all the other great things Jen does for our community, working at ABC as their workforce development director, and what other hats do you have? Many others. So lots of people know Jen. So with further ado, let me please welcome Jen Schott. I'm going to go around people up.
All right, well, good morning. Like Andy said, my name is Jen Schottke, and I'm the Director of Workforce Development and External Affairs with the Associated Builders and Contractors Western Michigan Chapter, or just ABC in short, and it's my pleasure to moderate the panel today. We are talking about training and hiring resources, and so my panelists this morning are going to be talking to you about training programs and resources that are designed by construction and area employment professionals that are available to support your company's growth. And so quickly, I'd just like to provide quick introductions of each panelist. Before today's event, I asked them to answer 3 questions, and so today I'm going to share with you what each of their first job was, what the best training experience they ever had was, and what was the hardest question they've had to answer in a job interview. So my first panelist this morning is Lorraine Medici. Hi, Lorraine. So Lorraine's first job ever was planting Christmas trees, making $11.62 for 1 day's worth of work. The best training experience she had was her 15 months with the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. She said it was transformational, personally and professionally. And the hardest question she's ever had to answer, this is a tough one, is why were you let go at your last job? So it's an important one to think about. Yes, ooh, right, from the audience. Great. So thank you, Lorraine, for being here. Next on the panel is Scott Matson from Grand Rapids Community College. Hi, Scott. Scott's first job was shoveling snow for his church in Marquette, Michigan. As a fellow Youper, I can tell you that is a labor-intensive job, shoveling snow from September until May. The best training experience that Scott has ever had really are at GRCC, but the best one that he said was how to have the difficult conversation and how to handle conflict. Good life skills, right? Hardest interview question was the dreaded, what is your weakness? Question. All right, next is Tom Cronkite. Tom is the CEO of Sun Title and also serves as the HBA Education Committee Chair. Welcome, Tom. Tom's first job was when he was 5 years old, and he assembled tricycles for a quarter in his family's hardware store. Pretty awesome. Best training is when he was an attorney at Warner Norcross, and he said that one of the key learnings for him was how to deliver bad news as well as you deliver good news. I could use that training as a school board member, I think. Hardest question he's ever had to ask, I love this one, is tell me something not on your resume that very few people know about you. It's always asked, but I always struggle to come up with the answer for that one. All right, welcome, Tom. Next is Victoria Patton. Victoria is the Membership and Marketing Coordinator at the HBA. Her first job wasn't until her freshman year of college, and she worked at MSU Bakers on Michigan State's campus. Her best training was during her senior year at MSU, part of a networking class where the editor-in-chief at National Geographic came in and gave her advice for the real world. She said it was eye-opening and helped her approach post-grad life. Hardest question she's ever had in an interview was for an after-school program at an elementary school, and the woman asked her if she would be comfortable breaking up a physical fight between students. That's a tough one, too. These are great. All right, welcome, Victoria. Next is Chad Patton. Chad is the Director of Customized Workplace English at the Literacy Center of West Michigan. Chad's first job was a greenhouse laborer at Bogey, is that right? Bogey Lake Greenhouse. He is an Eagle Scout, so that was the best training he has ever had. He said it really gave him an incredible experience that lasted 7 to 8 years through his growth, and you get to go camping on a regular basis. Hardest question he's ever had to answer was how to respond to 2 emails by the end of the day, as the interviewers would be evaluating his ability to construct a business email. They also told him not to think too much about it. Right. All right, next is Ata Obande, and he is the lead business consultant and hub coordinator at Spring, GR. Let me find my notes. Ata's first job was working maintenance at Calvin College. His best training was professional coaching training, where he learned how to help people move past their obstacles. And the hardest interview question, another great one, was, do you love to win or do you hate to lose? Yeah, that's a tough one. I know, these are great, right? All right, so welcome, Ata. And last but not least, we have Kevin Lutz, a business solutions representative from West Michigan Works. Kevin's first job was a busboy at the Texan restaurants. Best training experience was right here, his business solutions, professional training. And the hardest question that he's had to answer in an interview was, what issues have you had with coworkers and how were they handled? So welcome, panelists. Now I'd like them to tell you a little bit about themselves and their organizations and the work they do to support training and hiring. So with that, Lorraine.
My voice, okay, thanks. Do I need to hold that?
Yeah, I can hold it.
Okay, thanks. It's the first day they had a voice in 3 days. So I'm the Director of Training and Development at Express Employment Professionals. We are a staffing agency in which we have basically 5 divisions. The first 4 divisions encompass entry-level positions. The second one is specialized skills. The third one is administrative. The fourth one is professional. And probably in the last 5 years, we've really added our training division. And kind of to give you the why behind that is that every day we listen to the challenges and pains not only from the workforce, but from the workplace. All the time we have amazing people on our staff that hear what's going on. And we just felt it was really prudent and a responsibility to be able to give back in a training capacity to say, hey, if we're hearing all this information, if we're hearing all the challenges, how can we be a part of that solution? Express has 760 different offices, franchises all over North America and actually in part in South Africa. And so we have an amazing ability and process to gather a lot of information on what is going on in the workforce. So when I came on board, just a little bit about my background, I'm a personal and professional development coach. Done a lot of training, and my niche is definitely working with leadership. I spent the first 6 to 8 months doing nothing but just going out and talking to companies and just really, really listening to what are their challenges. And 3 things came up over and over and over again, regardless of the industry, regardless if it was profit or nonprofit. And that was low engagement, poor retention, and bad leadership. Well, we know if you take care of the leadership, you start taking care of engagement and retention. The Gallup poll put out a really interesting survey that took about 25 years, was over 7 million people, 12 million people, and said the number one reason somebody will stay with you or leave your organization is the relationship they have with their direct supervisor, not the CEO, not their people to the right or the left of them, but to the person that they report to. So knowing that, how critical that is, our whole emphasis is really helping companies understand that if you don't take care of these leaders, if you don't set them up for success, to be the very best that they can be, so they set up their teams for success, you're going to have bad engagement, you're going to have poor retention. It's over and over and over again. I can't tell you how many stories I hear why people leave. So again, my passion is definitely working with leaders at all levels and recognizing you have a tremendous responsibility, but you also have an amazing opportunity of influence to help others be their very best and recognize it's not about managing and people so much as it is about how do I get that person to do the best that they can be. Our unemployment rate just dropped in June to 2.9%, which is actually dangerously low. There are no lines of people out there. So you have to develop the people that you have now. You have to look at them differently than you might have done 7, 8 years ago. You have to look and see what are the gifts that they do have. How can I use and leverage them in the best way? So in that respect, our whole emphasis is on training. Across the board, 7 out of 10 people in your organization are at some level disengaged. 7 out of 10. That means they're not producing what they could be producing. You're losing equity. You're losing the ability to leverage them and see your business really change. So we have to look at talent differently, and it has to start with the leadership. So that's a little bit of my background on that.
Thank you, Lori. All right, Scott?
All right, great. My name is Scott Mattson, and I'm our program manager at job training programs at Grand Rapids Community College. For those of you who did get folders, this is in here, and I won't go through all of it, but job training is a general term, but at GRCC it's a specific department. And for those students that go through our programs, they get just over 600 hours of training in 18 weeks. Probably 70, on a conservative side, I'll say 75% of that is hands-on, whether that's construction, automotive, machining, medical assistant. We really do cover the gamut. And they are ready for you when they're done. Classes start every 2 months, sometimes every other month. So that means every 2 months we have students completing these 600 hours of training. Some of you in the room come in, talk to our students. We appreciate that. We encourage you to interview our students when possible. And really our goal for these students is when you're getting them, they're not green. Maybe they're a light blue, maybe when you get them, but they're ready. And you know, in this room, and I'll share, it doesn't matter what industry, what sector, what level of position, we get the same question from employers that call us. What's their attendance? What's their attitude? We have the advantage of having our students 34 hours per week in these programs. Our faculty, they have one faculty member for 34 hours per week for 18 weeks. They get to know these students very well. We'll put you in direct contact with the faculty member. They can share the good, the bad, the ugly, but we want to give you what you need. In addition to that, all of our students that walk into the MTech and get assigned, we call them a career coach, but it's really a success coach. They help them navigate the enrollment and admissions process at the college, which a lot of these first-time college students, that can be very daunting. That can be enough for them to just after 10 minutes say, that's enough, I don't want to do this anymore. But we walk alongside them. So we help them. They're financial aid eligible. For those that are veterans, they can use the GI Bill for these programs. They can use student loans. We try to find every avenue possible before they get to the student loan step. John Van Elst, my colleague who spoke on the first panel, he was here. He's part of he works with the Kellogg Foundation. They have grant money that can help. There's so many resources in West Michigan and specifically in Kent County to help these students. We really try to eliminate as many, we don't even call them barriers, we like to call them hurdles. Nothing's a barrier anymore. Everything can be worked with. And then they start their training, and then about halfway through their training, we engage them with our job developers, we call them. They help them get their resume together, do some mock interviews, interviewing tips, all of that job readiness stuff. But most importantly, we want those job developers, before they even get to the stage, meeting with you. So you can tell us what you need. I need an employee with this, or I can't have an employee if they have this. And then our job developers also are getting to know our students through their 600 hours with us. And we try to match make, for lack of a better term, to do that. So that's our arm of the college to get students who don't have the skills, have never done this, ready for entry-level employment. If you have current employees that you're looking to bring to the next level, we do customized training, whether it's for ones or twos or a group of 20. We work with the Construction Workforce Development Agency to, we call them our craft training programs, specifically around there's carpentry, ironwork, safety, core curriculum, all kinds of things. So we want to listen. If you need something, please tell us. I mean, that's what we want to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Tom?
Good morning. As Jen mentioned, I'm a recovering attorney and like educating. So I was invited along with Pat and Andy to of the HBA, and the HBA is the Home Builders Association of Greater Grand Rapids. It's just a phenomenal organization that supports really all things construction and all of the trades and affiliates and just that ecosystem that it takes to get done what needs to get done on the housing needs of West Michigan. It's been a huge success story. As we sat down a little over a year ago, just thinking about the opportunities that the construction industry has in front of them, and alongside of opportunities are equal, if not more, challenges, especially when you're growing a business and you're just trying to keep pace with the demand that the economy is throwing at it. So we sat down and we said, well, what type of programming, what type of content could we start to share with the members and the affiliates of the HBA so that they could take that back, and no pun intended, but kind of increase their toolbox of just all things we want to make you and the organization that you're either involved with or are leading better. And the programming ranged from code compliance to culture and project management to marketing, finance, development. We broke it into 2 series, had a great response this year as kind of a pilot year. One was the Grow Your Business series, and we described that as more of the graduate level, where we actually took the key components of a business plan and we spoke to each one of those the first hour of our session, and then the second hour we got into the weeds on a very challenging topic, either from subcontractor agreements or risk management to insurance to how do you develop and take a piece of land and turn it into a buildable lot. I like to think it's because it wasn't at Founders and we were serving beer that we had such good attendance, but there may have been a component to that. But we had a lot of fun, we had a lot of engagement, and we brought really a best of breed as far as speakers into those sessions and people that were just seasoned in the areas to which they were speaking. For the builders that are kind of newer into the business, we had a Know Your Business series that took place in the morning. And as impactful for different ways, that was set up on a panel peer-to-peer conversation, and that got into more of the granular, do you have a business plan, and do you even have contracts, and some of that stuff. So we're really excited about the feedback we received this year and looking into 2017, just building on that solid content that the HBA is providing.
Thank you, Tom. Victoria?
Hi, I'm the one that's been nagging you to complete your member zone profiles either at events or via email. But there is a good reason that I've been doing so. If we possibly have the slides that we could pull up, maybe no. Okay, I can just describe it. What? But there is a really good opportunity for you to fill out these profiles and get more exposure to your company, which is always a good opportunity. Just a few key things that I would highlight would be the company description. And here you're going to put everything that's under the scope of your business. Even if it seems kind of obvious, you want this to sound really thought out. You want to have something that kind of sets you apart if it's a little bit unique. And then you're going to want to have the keywords, which is similar. As many keywords that you can think of that can fill out this entire section. You have up to 1,600, and I would encourage you to try to get somewhere close to that. And then the last thing would be any images or videos that you have. And this can kind of just flesh out your profile, make it look a little bit better. This is essentially a website through us, so you want to take advantage of that. Then the other thing that I would say is that, what was the last thing on this slide? The keywords, images, sorry about this. Yeah, this is a good opportunity to get you some exposure for that. And then the other module that you can go into is the home page, and then go into the job postings feature. And then here you can be able to recruit new employees. This one is also really simple. You just have the title, the description of the posting, and then how long you want it to run. So this is a good opportunity, whether you want to sit down and commit the 20 or 30 minutes to fill it out, or I can do it for you. I've already done a few, some people here. I can sit down with you, or I can just do it over the phone, even an email, whatever you're most comfortable with, and just flesh out this profile. When people click on this job posting, it's going to take them back to this site. So you want it to look good, and this is a really good opportunity to get some more visibility to your website. So I think that would be, thank you.
Great. Victoria, I have a quick question for you about the job posting site. Are there resumes posted there as well from people seeking employment in the residential construction industry, or is it just job postings for members who are seeking employees?
Yep, it'd be the last one. So people would be posting, and then someone can search on our site, or if they're searching on Google, our website is going to come up, and they can look at the posting through that also. So again, it would link back to the member's own profile, and they could look at it that way.
Great. All right. Thank you, Victoria. Chad.
Oh, thanks. All right, so I'm Chad Patton. I'm with the Literacy Center of West Michigan, which has been an institution here, started as the Kent County Literacy Council, but then morphed into the Literacy Center for 30 years. And a part of that has been the Customized Workplace English program, which began in 2001. And so I direct that program, and we offer a couple of different services. I really separate them into two different services. We have post-employment ESL and literacy services, as well as pre-employment ESL and literacy services. So the cool thing about Customized Workplace English is, and I can say this because I didn't think of the program, I just lead it, it was a pretty innovative program in the way that we created and continue to create a curriculum, an ESL curriculum for employees that's based off of what the employee does in a day-to-day basis. So we offer classes at work sites and during flexible hours. So, you know, I'll give an example. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be testing at 5 a.m. at a construction site, and that's something that I don't usually wake up that early. I'm not looking forward to it, but it's something that that we do because we want to make sure that when we're providing literacy instruction, that we're doing so in a way that makes it easy for both the employer and the employee. And when we do it that way, it creates greater gains. And so that's really kind of the extent of our post-employment. I've been here with the Literacy Center for about a year, and a part of that has been just me figuring out how to grow the program, and another part of that has been I don't say no too often. And so that's really been fun to take it and listen to a lot of the employer needs that are out there, and we've been active in doing that. So I look at it as kind of a three-step process. We speak with employers, we speak with employees, and we figure out what the needs are. I just looked at some recent statistics that said that we have 10% of the population the adult population in West Michigan that does not have a secondary credential, whether it be a high school diploma or GED. Now, if you think about it, we're at, and I think the number, although it fluctuates at times depending on who you're talking to, but the percentage of unemployment right now is 4.2%. If you kind of take that number and think about that gap between 4.2 and 10%, there's a big chance that there, in a lot of different professions right now, you have a few different people who do not have a high school diploma. And then we have to start considering, well, what are the competencies that we really need within different places of business? And so what we do is we create that baseline, and we actually get good numbers on what people's literacy levels are in listening and reading. And we take those numbers and we talk to people and we figure out how can we create a curriculum on site that both improves their literacy, that improves the safety on site, that potentially improves the process of their work, and also improves, gets rid of wastefulness and improves retention as well. One of those things where if you're investing in your employees, they're going to stay. And so we deliver the class, and then we also provide a report at the end. So that's one of the things we do, but we also offer, like I said, we've been growing our post-employment quite a bit. We've been starting to offer customized literacy assessment. We work with the National Career Readiness Certificate and Work Keys. And then one other thing that we're looking to pilot in 2017, which is coming up, is we want to do customized Spanish lessons for, we heard a lot of feedback from a lot of different employers that their native speakers of English, usually at mid-level positions, are interested in learning Spanish because a lot of the employees we work with speak Spanish. So that's post-employment, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about our pre-employment. We also receive a WIOA grant from the state of Michigan, and well, it's federal. We get a WIOA grant to offer integrated EL civics instruction, which is ESL instruction that combines civics as well as workplace readiness. And we've been doing some pretty cool things that have really expanded off of that. We worked with MTech to provide the bilingual contextualized ESL program, and it was contextualized to machine CNC, and are really trying to find ways to expand that to other sectors as well, as John said in the last, when he was talking in the last section. But we've also done a lot of different things with churches to provide literacy instruction to pre-literate individuals. And we're also looking at more opportunities to really work and provide and streamline more individuals into the workplace and provide them literacy that not only addresses what their current needs are, which is probably literacy instruction, but to also provide literacy that gets them a job and sets them up to find some employment. So I'll end with this. I worked at Bogey Lake Greenhouse when I was in high school, and this was a greenhouse that it had a lot of diversity there. And when I was in high school, I took Spanish lessons or Spanish classes. I got my major in Spanish, and I have to say that there can be a pretty big disconnect between the people who are hired to work there and the people who hire them. And I remember when the owner of the business would try to communicate to a few different Spanish-speaking people there and would finally look at me and say, "Can you translate?" Now imagine if you have to have directions vetted to you as an adult through a high school kid. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit dehumanizing. And so we're working on a few different things to talk about that and to give some data around that. I look at Carrie Link and say, she's got great data. And we're working on moving toward that, but it may take a while. And in your packets, I've got some data on retention, and we've also seen great gains recently from a lot of our classes. In fact, those who pre-tested and post-tested had a 97% gain in their literacy. So I know it works, and we're here to provide either pre or post-employment services. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. Just in case anybody's unfamiliar, can you tell us what ESL stands for?
Yeah, thank you. ESL stands for English, I keep thinking of ESOL, English for Speakers of Other Languages, or ESL is English as a Second Language. So we've got a few different titles, but yeah.
Perfect.
Really, not native
Are you
speakers.
going to Kent Companies? Is that where you're headed at 5 a.m.?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. These are the concrete guys. They get up early. Yep. Welcome to construction. I can attest from personal testimonial that working with Chad has been really remarkable. We talked about the low unemployment, and so in construction, we must be creative. And not only must we be creative, but it's about time. We started to do this work to really be in community development, not just in employment development and workforce development. So I encourage you to think about working with the Literacy Center and with Chad to do this customized workplace training, because it's transformational and it's really great work. So thank you. Thanks, Chad. Ata.
Hey, so my name is Ata Obande, and I'm with Spring GR. Spring GR is a business training, mentoring, and networking program right here in Grand Rapids that helps entrepreneurs turn their ideas into sustainable businesses. So essentially, we help people start businesses. Spring GR was kind of started on the premise that, well, first of all, as we all know, Grand Rapids has kind of been positioning itself to be attractive to talent from the outside. And Spring GR operates on the premise that we have talent here in our city. A lot of people that have great ideas for business products or services, but just don't have the business acumen to make them sustainable businesses. So that's where Spring GR comes in. We like to consider ourselves like the on-ramp to business. We basically offer a 12-week business training class that helps the entrepreneurs fine-tune and develop their business ideas, from understanding who they are as people to understanding how to reach their customer, pricing their product accordingly, planning for the future, looking at different financing options if they need them. And the great part about it too is we all know the statistic that 60 to 80% of businesses that fail within the first year and a half. So one of the ways we try to combat that is we commit to walking alongside the entrepreneurs that come through the program for at least 2 years, offering free business consulting and connecting them to resources around the city to help them to continue to grow and develop their business. The training program actually is very inexpensive, fairly inexpensive. It's $100 for the entire program, and we help the entrepreneurs kind of come in and really focus their efforts on creating a sustainable business. We've been doing this now. This is our third year of operating. It's really second year. The first year is more piloting the class. We have 4 sites around the city where we offer this class, and one of them in the Roosevelt Park area that's a bilingual class. We're actually in discussions about maybe offering one that's completely in Spanish, but again, still just a discussion. But we have them in 4 different quarters in the city to allow for transportation issues. We offer free dinner and childcare for the participants as a way to try to take away as many barriers as possible from the entrepreneurs. And we've seen a lot of great successes. We've had a lot of businesses in the construction industry come through, from painters to rehab to carpentry, and a lot of other things. So most of the businesses that we work with are lifestyle businesses. We really don't deal with tech, but if the next Facebook came, we would definitely accept them. But for the most part, it's lifestyle businesses. And then we do as much as we can to partner with other organizations, other ESOs in the city to help connect our entrepreneurs to those resources when they are ready to take that next step in growing their businesses.
Thank you, Ata. Kevin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Lutz from West Michigan Works. I'm a business solutions representative, and I cover the construction industry as a whole for Region 4B. So West Michigan Works covers Allegan, Barry, Ionia, Kent, Mount Calm, Muskegon, and Ottawa County. So as you're doing construction projects throughout the region and you need talent help, please connect with me and do my best to help. We do a different array of things. So if you have a posting, I can get up in all 7 of the service centers throughout the region. And then we also do job fairs. So we can help host job fairs. We can connect you with people that are hosting job fairs, or we can create our own and have an event here as well. And then we also utilize the Pure Michigan Talent Connect. So that's where we primarily go. We have every employer post jobs on there, but you can also search for talent on this. So as you're looking, you get your job posted, you can do your own searching, and you can call from that. Then you can also connect with me, because we have talent developers on site who they talk with everyone that comes in every day. They look to see what their skill is, what they're looking for, and then they connect them back to the postings that I have shared with them. So if I'm getting your postings, they're getting out, I'm sharing them, and we're helping connect those people that come through the door. As Scott mentioned earlier too, we help partner on some of the craft training programs. We have an incumbent worker training program where as you're upskilling your employees and there's a hefty cost to it, we look to try to help with that. And we can do, if they qualify, about 50% of their costs back up to a certain amount. And then also when you're looking to hire a new employee, we can reimburse half of their wage for 4 weeks. So they're 2 really good programs that coincide with each other. So they're great to use. And then we also have our Skills Trade Training Fund grant, which is statewide, and it's over about $15 million that the entire state of Michigan can apply to get training to. The past 3 years, West Michigan has pulled in the most employers with the most amount, and then this year we're still waiting on awards, but we had 165 employers apply, 6.7 million requested total, and that's gonna, between all those, they're looking to hire 2,100 people. So that's, 165 employers in the area is still, it's a small number, so there's a lot of hiring going on, a lot of growing, and a lot of competing for the same people. So it's a lot of how can you, like the event, think outside of the box, find that talent, and then attract them to your business. So with all the training options, there's a lot of ways to look at that and try to get involved with it. And then for those who were at the first session, Mike Dykstra mentioned My Career Quest. So that's a huge initiative too that's made possible by partners and employers that Michigan Works hosts. So without you guys, that event doesn't happen, but it reaches out to the talent pipeline to help grow that talent, to interest them in construction. They may not know about it, they may only know the positions that their parents are doing. So this lets them get hands-on experience with all the different things that you do. And then just a last touch base, we also do some labor market information. So if you're looking for any type of wage information or data or looking to see what's hiring and what trends are, please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin's one of my favorite tools in my toolbox for sure, and he is always responsive. And so I'm like, Kevin, how do I fund this training program? He's got an answer. Kevin, what is the data for this? He's got an answer. Kevin, I need somebody with CAD experience and ironworking, and he'll pool his data and get me people. And so use him and abuse him. He is great. So thank you, panelists. All right, I'd like to open up to the audience. Does anyone have any questions for any of our panelists? Yes.
I believe this will be for Victoria and for Kevin. Is there a central clearing house for people to upload their resumes for the construction? Like a one-stop shop? Yeah.
And I do know Jody and I have been talking on making it possible to where, so the HBA members can post on their site, but then it would come to me and vice versa. So then we can kind of share information. So Jody and I have been working on that, trying to figure out a way to best make that. So then you're using both sites, but you maybe only have to go to one, and they'll function, perfectly. So then we can get both resources in one spot.
Good, thank you. Other questions from the audience? All right. Oh, you got one? Okay, good.
This is for the Michigan Works. I've talked with some employees before. What I do at the facilities, I apply for jobs for guys that are still incarcerated. So we're going through that technological issue where I physically have to do it for them because they can't get on a computer with the internet. Creating some sort of account for each guy, or versus me creating my account and then posting their resume. Do you guys have any information, or maybe we could talk offline about that?
I mean, I would recommend for them to have their own accounts and logins, because or else then you're going to be responsible for every single person you touch, where this way you can empower them to go, this is how you do it, I set it up for you, here's your information, I got you started. And then if we can get their resume too, we have a prisoner reentry program that would work perfect with them to help them get back.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, other questions? Okay, good. Thanks, Andy.
Because this is actually, we ran out of time, the other one, and maybe it's appropriate here or not. I know one of the challenges we talked about in the first session was housing. But the one thing that we always have a challenge with in our industry, because the job site's constantly changing, is transportation. I'm wondering if any of you have any experience on how you're dealing with transportation, or any suggestions on how we as an industry can solve some of those transportation issues, because sometimes it's the catch-22. I can't afford the car. If I had the job, I could afford the car, but I can't afford the car because I don't have a job. And it's just, I don't know if anybody, I didn't have time last time, but if you feel free to share any thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, with our training programs being 34 hours per week at the community college, for their training experience, we do have the luxury. We're on a bus line. We have grants and other agencies we work with that can provide bus passes and things like that. So that doesn't solve the problem what happens when they leave. And I realize there's always a price tag with everything, but we have heard from employers over the last year or two that they may pay a current employee who's somewhat in the area, they'll give them an extra $50 every paycheck for gas, and they'll go pick up another employee or two. So kind of with the theme of the day, thinking outside the box, but most things I should say come with a price tag, but certainly in the construction industry, residential especially, you're often out in rural areas, and it can be a challenge, but I think it just really requires thinking outside the box on the employer's part, and that's one thing that I've heard.
Great, thank you, Scott. I have a question for you, too. So in a time of such low unemployment, what are you seeing as your greatest source of trainees? Is it folks that are changing fields and industries? Is it I tried college, it's not for me, now I'm struggling to figure my way? Kind of, what's that pool of trainees looking like?
It's an interesting time right now. For the most part, people that want to work can work right now. Whether they really can work or not sometimes can be a challenge, whether it's soft skills, employability skills, however you want to refer to it. But it's not always the technical skills. I mean, you as employers know those can be attained in a lot of different ways. I think right now we're seeing, we're calling them challenging students right now. They, again, at the community college, most of them have moved on from K through 12. They're anywhere from 25 to 45 years old, the students we see. So more often than not right now, we're seeing people that have some sort of life barrier in the way, some hurdle. And it's really working with them to identify that and collaborating with them and other agencies in West Michigan to help them overcome that. But it certainly is, it's different. 10 years ago, we had a lot of students because there wasn't a lot of jobs and a lot of people with a lot of great skills and employability skills, but there's nowhere for them to go. So I think right now our biggest challenge is helping them with the transportations, the childcare, the life getting in the way sometimes.
Right. Good, thanks. And what's the first step for employers who do want to engage with students in your job training programs? How do they start to make those connections and get involved?
The easiest conduit is probably me, and I can get you in touch with our faculty, get you in touch with the right person, but they're really going to be your best resource in terms of references, or if you want to come in and talk to the class, or if you want to set up interviews with students, anything like that. So I would say just connect with me.
Good, thank you. Anything else? Yeah, great.
I build custom luxury homes, small business, 10 people in our company. Been building homes for 20 years now. I have a concern for lacking the workforce. I meet with our trades. Typically, to build a house, we need between 40 to 50 different trades, from engineering beginning of the house to cleaners at the end and framers in between. I meet with 2 trades every week, just as a practice, to make sure they have what they need. Almost without exception, every one of them need more people. It's hard for a business to know where to find those people. Because we've gone through a recession, we're very careful on who we hire. And a concern for us is fear of who do we get. We've heard this morning, first panel, about some people that are in the workforce that would like to have jobs. For us, the fear of jumping into people coming out of high school, early education, people with low skill set, how do we integrate them into the workforce without risk? First time I scuba dived, I was terrified I was going to be eaten by a shark. Third or fourth time, you don't think about sharks, you're looking at everything else. Jumping in this arena of looking at a market of employees, there's a lot of fear involved, because when you build for millionaires and billionaires, there's a lot of risk out there when you bring your employees into their homes. We heard some concerns about that this morning. How do we navigate that as a builder? How do we feel safe in this? Because I feel like I'm on one side, you're on the other side. How do we bridge that without problems?
Panelists, this is an easy one. Go ahead.
I can, again, only speak for my department at the community college, but that's really where we rely on our team of not only our career coaches in the beginning, and the kind of the mantra we're using right now is the right student in the right seat and try to get to the right job. We are a public institution. We're not going to tell somebody, no, you can't. But we are real with students before they get into the program. Here's what the next 18 weeks of your life is going to look like. And then we do see them for 600 hours. And really the position we would rely on, between us and the employer would be these job developers that I mentioned earlier, that they're getting to know the students, but then also getting to know you. If you're an employer with a very specific need of what you do need, and again, maybe what you can't have, it's just open, honest conversation. And I know that's not the magic bullet to solve everything by any means, but we just do try to have open, honest community. We've told students before, if they want to get into a field like IT, there's some backgrounds if somebody has that, I'm not going to say you can't do it, but there's going to be some taller hurdles for you, and maybe multiple hurdles. So we just really try to have open, honest communication with our students. And then, again, that 18 weeks is somewhat of an informal vetting process, even though we may not realize it all the time.
Thanks, Scott. Tom?
I can tell you from a business ownership perspective, we share that same concern. We're an interesting industry in the title business, is that it's fairly specialized, but there's no college program for title. In fact, nobody really knows what we do anyway. That's just what it is. But the concern, what we've found, and this is just my partner and I going through just a tremendous amount of humility and reaching out for opportunities for growth and guidance, because there's so much in the West Michigan area, is I think the biggest competitive advantage we have as employers is our internal culture, and creating that and going through the process that few businesses do of tight systems and procedures and a playbook that when you bring somebody on the organization, they'll know at the end of each day whether they won or lost, because people need to know that. People need to know if they're doing a good job or they had a tough day, but it's okay. I mean, that's something that was lost on us for many years of our organization. And you don't apologize for it at the end of the day. It's, look, this is who we are. This is our competitive advantage. We hope that you'll fit within this family structure that we've created here in this organizational structure. And you just have to continue to pour in. We have a philosophy that no one's ever surprised in our organization, that we go to painstaking lengths to identify those areas of where they've exceeded expectations, but also those areas where they're falling short, and then we come alongside them with a bunch of resources. But I don't think there's a silver bullet. It's a scary investment, but at the end of the day, it's something that we have to make. We're going through our first round of millennial onboarding and training and all that, and I'm as fearful, but I can tell you that they bring a dimension to the business that was unexpected. They're bright, they want to do well. If you spend some time getting to understand what motivates them, it's very different than Gen X, but you do a little bit of legwork on just how to connect with them and encourage them, because without that, the whole organization retires at the same time. There's no round of leaders that you're building up underneath.
Thanks, Tom. Lorraine, just a quick comment. I think we'll wrap up the session after that. Thank you.
Just another thought too is I think, and talking a little bit what you're talking about with millennials too, is I think we need to have a whole different mindset in looking at our talent, in the sense of recognizing when you take care of them, they will take care of your customers, and really looking much more as a mentorship is really developing. And for millennials, that's what it's all about. You got to understand that this is a group of people who get instant gratification every part of their life until they go to work, where it's much slower. The pace looks like this. And so they're like, what else is new? Where else can I go? So we have a group of people that are looking at job hopping 15 to 20 times in their work life versus a baby boomer of doing 4. So with that mentality, when they see the opportunity for growth and being able to be mentored to be the very best that they can be, and when you really look at companies like Virgin Airlines, who puts all their emphasis on their people, and that then takes care of their customers, we get some better results.
Good. I have a comment too. I do this for the commercial construction industry, and I hear it all the time. Like, Jen, where's the people? Where's the people? I'm like, well, they don't exist. And so I'm sorry, it's not a great answer. But what you need to do is have a really intentional plan for how you grow your own. And so what I tell my commercial construction members is, or I ask them, what job can a 16 or 17-year-old do in your organization? Because that's where you need to start getting them. And then you need to make repeated investments in them, maybe even consider in your budgeting, how are you going to train and develop this person, even if it's assisting with a college education, so that you develop that loyalty and relationship. So it is scary, and it does ultimately come down to culture of safety, culture of training, culture of service to your organization, and start with them young and have a plan, an intentional plan of how to grow your people. Good. One last question from the back.
I just had, I don't know if it's so much of a question, it was more of a comment for like the training, like I'm looking specifically at GRCC and stuff. I actually am in a tech industry, and I find a lot of people that think, oh yeah, I can deal with the technology, and they can deal with the lights and the flashy and the all cool stuff. But what's so important about my industry is learning the background of it too, and I find a big disconnect on that. They want to do the like cool up front, making it the awesome part, but there's real knowledge and there's real value in knowing how the structure goes in and how the basic parts work. It's not maybe the glamorous part, but having to learn that part. And then too, if they're going to work with someone like me, I'm a small business. I wear a lot of different hats. My employees are expected to wear a lot of different hats. If you go, like, for example, one product that we deal with is television services. So if you went to go work at a large corporate, you're only going to do that same widget or that same job all the time. But when you go to work for me, you're going to do maybe that one day, and then you're going to do wiring another day, and then you're going to do this. You're going to have a lot more of that mix around. And some of them find it very difficult, so I think it's important that we educate them too on what kind of business they're going for. Small business, they might have to wear a lot of different hats. They might not always every single day come in and do the exact same job. But for some people, that's, really good too. So I think we need to get that in the training as well.
I agree 100%. And we, it's funny, we, especially the younger students in at the community college, that's the 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they come in and they say, I want to own my business. I want to own my own business. And that's great. We don't want to do, but in 18 weeks, you're probably not, you might, but you're probably not going to own your own business. And there is a lot of value in working your way up. So we really do, regardless of the field, we do certainly remind them of that. And we call it, whether it's a career pathway, and we almost are referring to it now. You have your career pathway, you know what you want to do, but here's how that educational pathway lays kind of right on top of that. And there are multiple steps. We're all lifelong learners nowadays, or we all should be. And if that's the ultimate goal, here's how you get there. And again, it's just that real honest conversation, but I agree 100%.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Round of applause for our panelists, please. Good. Thank you. All right, so I want to leave you with two things since I kind of have the pulpit, so I'm going to take advantage of it, right? Okay. All right, thanks. So another thing that I hear a lot, and I'm talking to you builders especially, is we are so busy I don't have time for training. And I really want to caution you to avoid that rhetoric, because a trained employee is an engaged employee, is a retained employee. And you're looking for a skilled workforce, and we have to be responsible to ourselves to upskill our workforce. So please make sure that you're taking the time. I know that seems like probably an obstacle you can't overcome, but we just simply have to now start saying no to customers, which is super scary, and take time to invest in our employees. The second thing that I always like to do when I close with a group of folks working in construction is just remind you what an absolute elite group of people you are. We are in incredible demand. The work that you do is amazing. You know how to work with your hands and your minds, and not everybody knows how to do that. And so I just want to celebrate the work that you do and remind you to tell your story, because it's only through telling the story of success in this industry that we're really going to move the needle when it comes to workforce development. So thank you.
And